Hey, I saw it, dudes. I saw it, dudes. What's going on, guys? So, quick check here. This game I'm playing is called Space Hulk Deathwing. And this is the Enhanced Edition. Friend of mine recommended this game to me. Asked me if I'd heard about it. I checked it out on Steam. And after watching the initial trailer, it just seemed like my style of game. Like, very dark. Sort of just like a shooter, like sort of really gritty and dark. Reminds me a lot of Doom, actually. I played Doom for the first time about 6 months ago. I was waiting for something to download on my Xbox, and so I just hopped on the computer and played some Doom, and I'd never played it before. I'd seen a little bit of gameplay, but it just, like, it struck a chord with me as just, like, the epitome of what I would want in a game. Like, it looks beautiful, it's just gory, it's violent, just because, and it has awesome music and soundtrack, and just this incredibly dark atmosphere. And I just absolutely love that. So anyway, this game piqued my interest, and so that's what I'll be playing in the background here. So also a quick note, I did get a new monitor for my PC. So my old one was a 4K monitor, only 60 hertz, so I could only do 60 frames on it. This one here that I have now is a 1440p monitor, so it's going down to 2K instead of 4K. If you look right there, I actually have to down my mouse to 0% sensitivity. It started at 50-some%. And I had to go to 0%, and it's actually still, see, as you can see there, maximum quality, 2560 by 1440, max quality. I did have to turn there's a muzzle flash, which I had to turn down. It's absolutely making me sick to my stomach. Every shot was just like, it's like a camera bulb in my face. It was horrible to turn that down. But it is a 1440p monitor, so any of the content that I upload from my PC in the background like this is going to be in 1440 instead of 4K. If I do console stuff, it'll still be in 4K. I'm still on 4K on the console. And I'm still a little undecided on the monitor, if I'm being honest. I'm not sure. I don't know. There's part of me, a friend offered, same friend that recommended this game to me, mentioned some interest in the monitor, so if I decide I don't really like it, I haven't really played much on it since I got it, but if I decide I don't like it, I might end up giving it to him and going back to my 4K. But anyway, for now, 1440p. So today we're talking about the next generation of consoles. And guys, I put up a video, like, I don't know how long ago it was, 10 days or something maybe, talking about the PS5. It might be 2 weeks. The PS5 and the information that was, I'm not going to call it leaked because Mark Cerny himself, which is is the lead at Sony, was the one that released it. And so it wasn't, it's not a leak. He just released some semi-vague details about it so we can have, now we're off to the races and running. And I had this childlike enthusiasm when I heard last week, or a couple weeks ago when I heard the specs. Honestly, I was a little bit in disbelief, but then I realized, especially because it was sort of like a smaller name site that got to sort of leak the information, that released the information. I keep calling it a leak. It wasn't a leak. To release the information. But it is from Mark Cerny himself, and so these are things that we now know and really are mind-blowing. And I just want to go in depth here and talk about the different things that I've seen, the different things we've heard, because I haven't really thought that much about it for a couple weeks. It's just sort of like, well, it's one of those things, I'm really excited about it, but over the last few days, I've seen a few more videos, and there's not really any new content that's being released. There are a couple small little leaks, but really just speculation at this point. And as someone who follows hardware as much as I do, I definitely follow all the PC hardware and all that kind of stuff. So just kind of knowing what's out there and what's available and what will be available, it's really just, I'm almost at a loss for words to describe it. I say that lightly, though, because I just, and this video should be like 21 minutes. I just recorded a 20-minute voiceover, and I still had probably like 5 minutes worth of things to say. So I completely scrapped it and started over. It's going to be epic, guys. I don't really know how else to explain it. There's no real way to explain it because we have not seen an upgrade in consoles this big in 15 years. So, PS4 to PS4 Pro or Xbox One S to One X, these are, that's not a generational upgrade. It's not even close to a generational upgrade. And even going back as far as the 360 and the PS3, to this current generation, that was not an upgrade either. I think both Sony and Microsoft were, now that I think about it, they were definitely limited by the hardware available at the time. Those consoles run on a CPU from AMD based on the Jaguar architecture, which is from like 2010, guys, 2011. It's old and it's not good. And so it's weak. The consoles are super weak. And because of that, the GPUs have really outpaced the CPUs. And we got to the point now where we have the Xbox One X, which is essentially what is like a $50 CPU with like a $300 graphics card, which is just, I mean, that's just so bad. I don't even know how to explain that. If you know anything about PCs, you know that's horrible, absolutely horrible. The discrepancy between those two is just disgusting. So the last time that the generation jumped this much was from the original Xbox, the OG Xbox in the early 2000s, and PS2 to PS3, and I think about 2006, and the 360 in 2005. That's the last time we saw this level of upgrade. A true generational upgrade. There's no way to describe to you what it's going to be like, because I don't even know what it's going to be like. Obviously, anything that we've ever played is one thing, but with this type, this is what used to happen, guys, when you had a new thing launch. Like, for example, I'll use Skyrim. Skyrim is one of the most popular games ever. It's top 15 selling game of all time. I think it's like 12 or something like that. We're talking about a generational game, like a game that just absolutely defines its generation. And that game came out in 2011, I think, still on the 360. So that was near the end of the life on the 360, and that basically, you know, kind of pushed the limits for what was possible there. A game like that would never have been even remotely possible on the original Xbox or PS2, and certainly even during the first few years of the Xbox 360 being out, 2006, 2007, 2008, that game really wasn't possible. And it's only because of how powerful the 360 was that technology was actually able to allow them to do that later. As the consoles get older, the developers are better at developing for them, and they're able to streamline it more and more, and they're able to really, really squeeze every ounce of power out of it, and make, you know, some sacrifices here and there to really squeeze the power out. When the 360 came out in 2005, it was so powerful that it was actually better than the computers at the time. I mean, obviously, if you spend, you know, $1,000 or more, you can get something better. But it really just took over everything from the mid-range to the mid-range to the low range of PCs, what you could do. And that the only companies that can afford to put out hardware that expensive are big companies like Microsoft and Sony. So if you built a computer on your own, each part you buy, the company that sells that part is trying to make a profit on that. From what I understand, most of the profit margins for like graphics cards and that kind of stuff are around 10 to 12%. So what that means is that it costs them a certain amount to produce it and ship it and like all that kind of stuff, quality test it, market it. Whatever their full cost is for them, start to finish, they're charging about 10 to 12% more than that, and they profit all of that. So they're not going to even sell it to you at an equal price to what it took them to produce it. So companies like Sony and Microsoft, they don't actually make the money on the console hardware sales. I'm sure they probably did this generation, maybe a little bit, and I'm sure Sony did, selling almost 100 million consoles. But they really make the money on the software, on the live services, on all that kind of stuff. That and the publishing of games, whatever. That's how they really make the money. So, you know, they can afford to sell these consoles at a loss, which means that in previous generations, what they did was they made a very powerful console, because computer hardware upgrades every year and a half. Since I built my PC, I built it about 8 months into Ryzen 1, basically. Let's call it first generation Ryzen. So since then, I've had the computer about 18 months. There's first generation Ryzen, then second generation Ryzen came out, and now we're about to be on third generation Ryzen here in like a month or two. So all of that happened within 2 years. So, you know, the PC hardware goes very fast. So the level of upgrade from what I have to this third generation Ryzen is going to be epic. And what I have in a Ryzen first generation is already like a doubling or more upgrade from what's on the One X and the PS4 Pro or PS4 Pro, because it's based on old AMD stuff that was a totally previous generation. So just the upgrade alone is going to be epic. So they ship these consoles out very powerful. Initially, so powerful and so technologically advanced that the companies actually take a loss on the console. So in Microsoft's case, I think it cost $400 when it came out. I got it in 2005. I was very lucky. That was when they were literally sold out everywhere, and I happened to be at Walmart. They happened to be unloading them on the shelf. They happened to have 6 of them, and I happened to have all $450 to my name in the world for my very first job. It took me months to save up that kind of money. It was $5 an hour, and I was working like 8 to 12 hours a week. So it took me a long time to save that up, and I happened to have it. But that console cost $400 is what they were selling it for. It probably cost them $500 or more to make it. And I remember reading an article years ago about how they were actually losing money on every console they sold for years. It took them like 2 years to be able to actually break even on the hardware sales of that console. That's how powerful it was, okay? Because it was so forward-thinking. And this time around, guys, this is what we're getting. We're getting a true next-generation console. The things that are coming from Mark Cerny, the things he's talking about, the things he's mentioning, the things he's saying are going to be pillars and staples for this. They're talking about pretty much doing away with loading screens because of this ultra-fast SSD hard drive. That's so fast, it's faster than what's available on a PC right now. This is going to be ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I haven't talked about Xbox because Xbox, we don't have any information on Xbox yet. The assumption is, and I mean, I'm pretty sure there's no chance it's going to be less powerful than the PS5. So it's at least going to be as powerful as the PS5. If you remember the Xbox One X, there was a developer interview with Microsoft themselves saying that it actually very much upset them that Sony passed them with the PS4 Pro as far as like the most advanced console and stuff, that it upset them, and they were mad that they lost the crown of the most powerful console, because that's what the original Xbox back in 2002 or whatever, or 2003, that's what they did. They really just wanted to make something ultra powerful, so they were upset that it was the weaker of the console. So they realized how much they messed up, and they were embarrassed and ashamed, and so they came back with a vengeance. And they said that Phil Spencer, or not Phil Spencer, I don't even remember what the guy's name is, Albert Pinello, said that, quote, he'd be lying if he said they weren't showing off by building the One X the way they did, unquote. So he was basically saying, like, we really just did this just to prove that we can. So that's at least going to be as powerful as the PS5. So I'm going to go over some stuff. These are rumors, okay? I'm going to link the video that I watched to hear these things, and these are rumors, so take them with some salt. They're just, you know, they're things that we have heard, and it's easy to suppose these things, but hearing them from a guy who seemed to be a developer the way his language was. So he said that he thought the PS5 was going to be launching in early 2020, like Q1 or Q2. So that would be like March or May of 2020. I don't know about that. That's the least likely thing on here, in my opinion. So second thing is the GPU performance. So let's just get this out of the way. The PS4, 1.7 teraflops or 1.8 teraflops. Xbox, it's just a measure of the performance of the GPU, so the measures actually don't matter what they mean. It's just a way of computing graphics and stuff. So 1.7 teraflops for the Xbox One, 1.8 for the PS4, and then we had this big upgrade in the PS4 Pro to 4 teraflops. They more than doubled it. And then you have the Xbox One X, which is 6 teraflops. So that's even better. And that allows for true 4K. So the rumor is, and for reference, the 1080 Ti that I have in my PC right now was the top of the line when I bought it. It's not anymore, but this thing does 11 teraflops. Okay? Which, this is a $750 graphics card when it came out. So at the very least, we're talking about at the absolute bare bones minimum, we're talking about $1,000 on a PC with that level of graphics performance. The PS5 is apparently targeting 12 to 14 teraflops. More than double the Xbox One X, more than triple the PS4 Pro. So we're talking about some serious horsepower here. Okay, let's take a pause out here. As I'm editing this, I'm realizing a couple quick mistakes. First mistake is that the Xbox One original actually was only doing 1.3 teraflops to the PS4's 1.8 teraflops. I didn't realize there was that much of a discrepancy, but there is. Secondly, is that if you compare the PS5 to the base PS4 or the base Xbox One, we're actually looking at a 10 times improvement as far as graphics power, which is just unreal. I mean, it really is. It's a true next generation leap. So the other thing is on Steam, which is the Xbox Live PSN of PCs. I would say probably close to 90%, maybe more, of people who play games on PC have Steam. So it's very accurate. They have a Steam hardware survey, which allows you to see the hardware that other people are running on Steam. And I went ahead and added the 4 graphics cards, the 2070, the 2080, the 2080 Ti, and the Radeon 7 from AMD. Went ahead and added those 4 cards together, and the grand total of percentage of those cards, which can outperform the PS5, is 1.5%, which means that 98.5% of people who are gaming on a PC don't even have a card that's capable of outperforming what this PS5 has. Absolutely unreal, guys. Okay, back to the video. A 2 terabyte hard drive. That's the rumor. That's, I have to imagine they're going to do that. I can't imagine it be smaller than that. Games are getting so big. But they were saying it's going to all be SSD. That's what this rumor was saying, which, I mean, dudes, if they have that in there, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. I only have 750 gigabytes worth of SSD storage on my computer. So we're talking about, 5 times that. Nice math, you idiot self. We're talking about 2 to 3 times that. Oh, man, I don't know. So they're talking about 24 gigabytes of RAM, which is kind of an odd number. But it makes sense considering they want to reserve 4 gigabytes for the system OS, and then they're going to have 20 gigabytes for games. Again, this graphics card that I paid top dollar for, top of the line when it came out, was 11 gigabytes worth of RAM. So they're going to have almost double that just for games. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. The DualShock 5 controller obviously will be the next version of the controller. This thing is saying it's going to have a camera, some kind of camera in it. I don't know if I can buy that. That's kind of the second least likely thing in my opinion. But definitely some kind of sensors and stuff for VR. So there's also them talking about how there's a much improved analog stick system. So I'm assuming the sticks and stuff are going to basically be the same as they've always been. But as far as like the hardware that actually controls the sticks and the actual motors, or not motors, but like just the stuff that goes along with the sticks is apparently much upgraded over this current generation, to the point where these analog sticks are way more precise and much better for FPS shooters, which I hope so. And then this guy says that they're going to price it at $499, $500, and they're going to be taking a $100 loss on the console for every one they sell. Now, that's totally believable, guys. That's totally believable, and that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. That if they do that, that's going to be a big deal. And they can afford to initially because there's not as many people buying the consoles right off the bat. But it's going to be epic. So the CPU on the old consoles is 1.7 gigahertz, based on a Jaguar CPU. It's old, it's crappy, it's not good, it's slow. And so I've been saying for a long time that if these CPUs don't reach 3 gigahertz, then it's not a true next generation console. Well, the rumors are 3.2 gigahertz for this CPU, which is a boost clock. So they might be able to run at like 2.5 all the time, and then like it can boost up to 3.2 if it's cool enough or if it needs to. Honestly though, after realizing the amount of upgrade in the actual chip itself and the architecture of the chip and the generational upgrades in the chip, I don't even think they will need that. Because 2.5 gigahertz would be more than enough to run 60 FPS in pretty much any game you want. The main issue would be the graphics, which is supposed to run, and so 1.7 gigahertz on the old 2 consoles. The PS4 Pro went at 2.1 gigahertz, pretty big upgrade, and the One X runs at 2.3 gigahertz. And I'll tell you from experience, it's so much snappier and so much faster and more responsive than the One S. I had to use my One S for a couple weeks when my One X was getting fixed, and it was not even. It was like driving. It was like going from driving a, like a Mustang 5.0 to like a Geo Metro. Like it was just, oh man, it was so painful. And so this thing's going to run at 3.2 apparently in a boost. So then the GPU last time around was 900 megahertz, 850 or 900 megahertz when it launched. The PS4 Pro I think runs at around 1000 or 1100, and the One X runs at around 1300 megahertz. So this one is supposedly running at 1800. They don't know if that's going to be the final speed. That's what is the discrepancy in the teraflops, 12 to 14. Not sure whether it's going to be like 1600 or 1800 megahertz. Not really sure. Again, the main enemy with consoles is heat. The faster the CPU runs and the GPU, the more power they need and the hotter they get, which means they're very hard to cool, and or they run with loud fans and stuff like that. So it's not, anyway. So, guys, I mean, this is the most epic thing ever. So what does this all mean? What this all means is really unrecognizable games. At this point, developer kits are out there and developers are starting to work on it. So the bigger name companies are already developing something. So in my opinion, you won't see something really good until a year in, probably more like 2 years in. But I would say 2 years after the launch of whatever this new console is, there's going to be a massive upgrade in games, guys. Like an upgrade that we've never seen, like a 15 years ago for the last upgrade. This is a true next generation. We're talking about 3D audio, dedicated audio chip for Sony, which, I mean, as an audiophile, can't even explain to you how epic that is just on its own, let alone the unbelievably fat CPU. The graphics are going to be just absolutely off the charts, guys. This is going to be the most epic thing ever, and I cannot wait to look forward to. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think the best part of it is you're looking forward to, and I will link the video that I watched down in the description that had some of these leaks in it. Again, these are leaks or rumors, but guys, these are perfectly plausible. Thank you guys. See you later.